I'm so worried about, even for myself, the scrolling,
Yes.
looking at, all of the images
Comparing.
and what the ideal standard of beauty is and the ideal body image. It's something that is just exhausting.
Fitness looks different for everyone. Like what is healthy looks different for everyone. And that is something that's so important to remember.
Tried everything. I've done the, not eating to the keto to the, but it's like, this is something that is a realistic lifestyle change. People close to me while I was pregnant say, oh, I'll give you a tip. I only ate grapes during my pregnancy.
While you're pregnant?
Yes. Well, and this was from another woman. Like,
If you've ever looked in the mirror and felt not enough, not thin enough, strong enough, toned enough, this episode is for you. You're not alone. According to the National Institute on Media and Family, up to 80% of women are dissatisfied with their bodies, and research published in the Journal of Women's Health shows that negative body image can actually decrease motivation to exercise and increase the risk of dropping out of fitness routines. Today, we're having an honest conversation about how we see ourselves and why fitness should never be based on shame. But fitness isn't about appearance. It's about feeling good in your skin, starting exactly where you are. So welcome Greg, the founder of Zero Sweat Fitness, and both of our guests today who are willing to join us in this very honest conversation about body image, which I feel like can be a sensitive topic.
absolutely.
So Greg, thank you so much for opening up this platform for us to get this out there, because I feel like so many women need to talk about this more.
You're welcome, and good afternoon, everyone.
Have you guys ever avoided the fitness space, or even like, I think of myself sometimes, I won't want to go for a walk on the Beltline simply because I'm not feeling confident about the way I look. Have you guys ever experienced that, or avoided going to the gym because of how you feel you look?
Yeah, I can start. I definitely have. I mean, even now, like I struggle with it. Like I'm a baton twirler, so I have to train in the gym, and I often train in like the campus gym. And recently I'm just like not like, I guess, the happiest with my body. Like I wish that I was like a little bit stronger. And so sometimes when I go into the gym, I feel a little bit self-conscious, especially because a lot of times people watch me, because twirling is like not super common. So people are like really interested.
Right.
They're like, oh, like what is that girl doing? She's tossing a baton. But a lot of times it's just hard because I don't really want people to be watching me. But just putting myself out there and saying, like, you can do it. You just got to focus on yourself and take away all the noise. That is what really helps me. But definitely, yeah, avoiding gym spaces it's definitely something that I've experienced. So
Yeah, for sure.
And for me, not so much avoiding spaces, but shrouding myself. So
Trying to disappear.
trying to disappear. So I love workout gear, and there's so many different things that you can wear, leggings and, exercise gear, but you'll find me on the Beltline or in the gym with a huge oversized t-shirt, or just, again, in a tent, something that will cover up, my insecurities. So I will still go to the gym or walks, but again, I try and, disguise the things that I don't feel good about. Yeah.
Yeah, I can totally relate that. I as I mentioned earlier, if I want to go for a walk on the Beltline, but I'm having a particularly bad body day.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys phrase it that way.
Yeah.
It will deter me. I won't do it because I don't like, and it's not like anybody out there is paying any attention to how I look.
Exactly.
I know that logically, but you still feel like for some reason you're under a spotlight.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just in our own minds, but if you're not happy with the way you look, it just stops you from doing many things.
Oh,
yeah.
And I'm curious how social media or pop culture has influenced you, or what do you think has influenced this body image challenge that you guys face? I know I'll share mine, but I'd love to hear what you think influenced it.
Yeah, I mean, I can start. I feel like being younger, like it's very easy to get lost in social media. There's so many influencers who oftentimes we forget that it's literally their job to do fitness, eat healthy all day, work out all day. And so it's easy to compare yourself like, oh, they're doing 2 workouts every single day and I'm not doing that. But that's just not realistic for everyone's life and everyone's lifestyle. So just, it's so important to remember that some people, that is literally their jobs, but that's not realistic for everyone.
Right.
And like fitness looks different for everyone. Like what is healthy looks different for everyone. And that is something that's so important to remember because being younger with all of these influencers, there are so many influencers like in their 20s and, so many people like me, like my friends in college, like these people's content comes up on our feed. And it's just really important to remember that that's not reality. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we have been consumed even before the advent of social media. I'm a little bit older than she is. So
Same, no worries.
Body image issues just years ago, even before social media, but just comparing yourself to these unrealistic standards, right? Like what is the image of beauty, whether it's magazines or TV? And so now, though, we have access to so much content. I have a daughter the same age, and, I am so worried about, even for myself, the scrolling,
Yes.
looking at, all of the images
Comparing.
and what the ideal standard of beauty is and the ideal body image. It's something that is just exhausting. And, not just the imagery itself, but you've got, GLP-1 ads and you have people, plastic surgery and just all of these ways, quick wins. And the message out there is, you got to do it
Or you're not
fast
pretty.
or you're not pretty. So, it has a huge impact, on me and just, again, constantly comparing ourselves to that imagery.
That's interesting. I know, I don't know that my influence came so much from media, but my first career was classical ballet. And I had excellent coaches who never did my coaches ever look at me and tell me I needed to lose weight or not eat. I've heard, I know it's out there. I've heard plenty of horror stories. I remember one ballet director, my friend was telling me that her director told her, don't you know how to do this? Don't you know how to look like a ballet dancer? You don't swallow your food. You chew it and you spit it out. And that's how you do it. And it blows my mind. I thank goodness I didn't have that influence, but being a people pleaser, as so many dancers are, you are surrounded by, your idea of beauty becomes this ideal figure in the classical ballet world. So whether anybody's telling you to or not, your goal is to become a professional ballet dancer. So this is what I have to look like. And you may not know how to get there. You lack the knowledge. So you just do it maybe any unhealthy way that you think that you can obtain that goal. So it's interesting how many different influences are out there that make us think we have to look a certain way that might not be the healthiest.
And even ourselves, like as women, sometimes we just put so much pressure on ourselves and we are forced to feel like we have to, look a certain way. And so even at a young age, I've had a wonderful upbringing, the best parents ever, but even my mom just having notions of always having to be healthy and being thin and having a certain body type. And I've had people, this is terrible, and I'm almost ashamed to say that I've had, people close to me while I was pregnant say, oh, I'll give you a tip. I only ate grapes during my pregnancy.
While you're pregnant?
Yes. And this was from another woman, like giving me advice for, how not to gain too much weight. And so that's really like you think, okay, well, that doesn't sound really healthy, but I don't want to gain too much weight, so I'm just going to eat grapes. So even as women putting pressure on ourselves to fit this ridiculous ideal, it's really tough.
Yeah, and what's really hard, I know, and I hate sometimes talking about this, like you said, sometimes it's embarrassing, but I think it's important to share it. But I did have anorexia in my teen years, probably from like 15 to maybe 18. And I remember one of my ballet directors saying to me, well, once an anorexic, always an anorexic. In other words, this is a lifelong disease that you will never overcome. And in that moment, I was trying to recover and going through therapy. And I think I was an outpatient at a hospital at one point. But I remember thinking, how dare she put that label on me and tell me that I cannot overcome this and that I will not, because that's so defeating. I hope she's not telling anyone else that, because I'm going to show her. But and I did, and I'm much more focused on being healthy and taking care of myself in a much more healthy way. But the body dysmorphia is still there. And that was kind of one of the questions I was going to ask you guys, was just sort of like, what's something that made you realize that maybe you see yourself in a different way, speaking of that body dysmorphia, than, say, someone else does? And I know for me, the realization came maybe in my 30s, thinking that I'm like all through with it. But I will look in the mirror and I will see something and think, oh my gosh, when did that happen? Like, what's happening to me? I look so like blown out of proportion. I look fat. And then maybe 10 minutes later, I will walk past the same mirror and see something completely different. And I know that's embarrassing to say in public because I sound like a cuckoo, right? I sound crazy. But that body dysmorphia, I feel like, isn't talked about enough.
Right.
And I don't think I'm the only person who has these experiences.
Absolutely.
Terry, you're shaking your head.
Yeah, no, I've definitely had very similar experiences to that. And yeah, I mean, it's hard and it's oftentimes confusing because it's like, how can I feel so confident in one moment and then the next moment feel the complete opposite?
Yes, which one am I supposed to believe? Which one's real?
Right.
Which one is real?
Exactly.
You know, I think about, looking for a dress and being in the fitting room.
Shopping.
And looking at yourself in the mirror and thinking, oh, ew,
Yep.
oh, I don't want a dress that's too short. I need to cover my knees, or I can't show my arms. And then, finding something after having an agonizing day of shopping, and then looking at photographs of yourself and thinking, well, sometimes you're like, oh, well, I don't look so bad. But then other times you can look at yourself in the same image and think, oh my gosh, I'm just, so fat, or I look terrible.
It's kind of scary.
It is. It's really this psychological impact and how we torture ourselves, and this unrealistic definition that we're really tricking ourselves constantly.
And
how do I really look?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. So you almost have to rely on people that you love and care. But then there's that little voice that comes into your head and says, they have to say that.
Yes,
that's my mom, or that's my significant other. So they have to say that. There's always that little devil, I guess, on your shoulder that's messing with your head. But I know for sure that it can be a deterrent for, which is so backwards, but we're so worried about our bodies and how we look. But it can be a deterrent for working out. It can actually deplete motivation. And so one of the things that Greg and I have talked about is just how, or at least for me personally, Zero Sweat Fitness kind of helps me tackle that on the days when I don't feel like I can go do something, or I don't want to go out on the belt line and feel seen, whether I am or not. The Zero Sweat can really help me sort of counter that negativity. And even if I'm having a bad body day, but I'm at work, I'm having a negative thought about, oh no, I looked at my leg or my thigh or my arm, whatever it is that I looked at and I don't like, I can instantly do something about it.
Yes.
And that makes the endorphins start flowing again. And then I feel mentally better.
Yeah. And that's a key, what you just said. I can do something about it. A lot of times I would sit, woe is me, agonizing, oh, I hate my legs, I hate my arms, but it's like, okay.
I don't want to go to the gym.
Yes, I don't want to go to the gym. And I'm like, well, if I don't like something about myself, what am I doing to change it?
Yes.
And so that becomes motivating. And so it's like, get moving, make lifestyle changes, and just do something about it.
Yeah. And a healthy something about it.
Exactly. A healthy something about it. And, even something simple, recently in the last few years, everyone has ups and downs and personal challenges, and we got a dog, and it has literally changed my life in terms of just lifestyle changes,
like another
and
kid.
feeling positive about exercise, because here is a living being that we have that allows me to go out and enjoy the day and go for walks, and contributing to a healthier outlook on myself. And so little things like that have changed my outlook on how I look, just by making simple changes, from a lifestyle perspective.
I am curious. That's the second time, by the way, someone has recommended on these episodes to get a dog for the same reason, that it helps, it motivates you, it inspires you to move, and then you release endorphins, and so that's interesting. I'm curious because we're talking about zero sweat can be that something that we do to do something about why we don't feel good, but we also know that sometimes, especially in my younger years, I'm looking at you and thinking about my old self, and I'm thinking a lot of times what we turn to is an unhealthy solution, something that we know. I can remember being a young dancer and hearing about another dancer. I won't say the name of the ballet company, but it was a very well-known ballet company, and the dancer who shared the same name as me died. She was in the back seat of her car. We were around the same age, and her heart just stopped. And even knowing that information, I guess it's kind of like people who smoke. They know it's killing them, but they still do it. It's kind of the same thing, or addictions, or I guess it applies to a lot of things. But do you think that having this education about zero sweat fitness and the little subtle movements could possibly be that better, healthier solution to turn to, rather than perhaps maybe skipping a meal or whatever it is that the go-to could be?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you talk about that story, that really puts things into perspective. And so I for sure think that, implementing those things into zero fit sweatness and thinking, what, this could be really detrimental to your health if you continue doing something that's not good for you. And so really just putting emphasis on taking the healthy route is definitely a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, and learning what is
Yes.
healthy.
Yes, exactly.
And what I love about zero sweat is, I think about through my life all of the crazy, unhealthy routines and habits I've done to try and resolve my body image issues. I've been on every type of diet, every type of exercise routine. I've tried everything. I've done the, not eating to the keto to the, but it's like, this is something that is a realistic lifestyle change where I'm not like, okay, I have to get up at 5 every morning, go and kill myself at the gym for 2 hours. This is a realistic approach to fitness and health that everybody can implement in a real way. And so it's inspiring and encouraging, right?
Yes.
I work, I have a busy family. And so this is something that realistically I can incorporate into my day-to-day without feeling stressed about it.
It doesn't
and,
change your schedule.
This is the type of thing I can be doing, and just, even in the boardroom, I'm gonna, encourage others
Glute
to
squeeze we talked about in an earlier episode, and the belly button press, and all these things. Like, I love the isometric ones because we all have, I think, areas of our body that we fixate on, and we're like, oh, we don't like them, and probably other people don't even know. I think my nose is crooked, and so I think there are a lot of people who probably look at pictures and go, what are you looking at? Like, I look at that picture and I'm like, holy smokes, like that's the Italian nose from my family. But we just fixate on it. So it's just interesting trying to get your brain to wrap around what is healthy and what we should do. Greg, I don't know if we lost you. We just took off on our loaded conversation. Any thoughts on some advice, especially for women, since there are so many of us, like the stats I was talking about earlier? There's such a large portion of women who have body image challenges, body dysmorphia, some of us. And we were just talking about how zero sweat fitness can really be that healthy solution.
Yeah, I mean, there is obviously a gap between men and women as far as body image is concerned. But I can say that for those who won't go to a gym or are afraid to or feel intimidated, certainly more movement outside of the gym becomes even more impactful and more important towards being healthy and achieving certain goals. We don't have to go to a gym to be healthy, and we can go ahead and create health through other environments, i.e. Either at work, commuting in our car, and at home. So we can do things to stay healthy without going to that gym. And then when we start feeling healthier and start moving more, we start feeling better about ourselves and are more inclined to go to the gym. I know even me personally, when I'm on vacation, I hate going to a crowded gym. So if I'm on vacation, I'm going to always go on the off times. I don't feed off of other people's energy. It's just an annoyance and frustration because I perceive so many people who are just in my way and don't know what they're doing. So it's very
Different reason why we avoid the crowd.
But so I will always go during an off time just to enjoy it because I'm doing it for me and not for others. And I do notice that there's a real increasing toxicity. I mean, where you have people who are either influencers or wannabes, and they bring their phones with them, and they're recording themselves, and oftentimes they're trying to record reactions to other people, and so it becomes really toxic in the sense that women or men are looking for a reaction, some sort of visceral reaction for someone. So instead of really focusing on fitness, the focus becomes on promoting themselves. And so it's not really necessarily a healthy environment, or people are losing track of what they're really there for.
And talk about another contributing factor to feed our fear of people looking at us
Yes.
and making us self-conscious that only
someone
filming
you. Yes.
makes you feel even worse. And I think I got sidetracked a little bit earlier. Let's blame it on perimenopause, which was a topic we talked about on an earlier episode. But I was talking about how we do have image issues with certain parts of our body. And what I love about the Zero Sweat Fitness is if I have a particular area of my body that's really bugging me that day, like my triceps or like my arms or whatever, you can do like lots of isometric contractions, like tricep. You can just grab the arm of your chair and start squeezing that muscle and finding it. And oh, my abs, I'm feeling bloated today or whatever. Well, guess what? I can still continue on with my routine and I can engage my abs or like the cough, I think was another thing Greg talked about was if you cough, what is it, Greg? 3 to 5 times?
5 times, and then contract and hold for 5 seconds, and then release and do it again. Repeat it.
So you can really
great tips.
Yeah, you can reach whatever it is that's bugging you, and it really does help mentally.
And I think that's so awesome because like not every day, like you're not going to make it to the gym every day. You're not going to be able to go on a long walk every day, but you can do little things like that.
Yes.
Every day, which is, I think that's awesome.
No sweating, no interfering with no extra time needed. It's just anybody can do it anytime.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. I was thinking about, there was a time when I used to work with a bodybuilder by the name of Lee Haney, an 8-time Mr. Olympian winner. And the interesting thing about bodybuilding is they compete in a totally different way in which they train. And so they're training with weights and doing cardiovascular activity, but they compete totally differently. And they're posing. And so the contractions of those muscles remind me of being able to isolate and do some isolating things. So the better you're able to control your muscle, the easier it becomes to do things like zero sweat, particularly if you're, like I said, you're in an environment where you cannot do exaggerated motions. It really does help. And so either it's isometric or just a total contraction of a muscle. You learn to do that through, let's say, something like bodybuilding. And since we're talking about
Body image.
That's another thing where men, it's taken to an extreme. And you're talking about body dysmorphic disorder. I see a lot of them engaged in that because it's this desire to be bigger and bigger and bigger, and so that's the best, and that is the ultimate in masculinity. And so
We're
it's
trying to be smaller and smaller and smaller, and they're trying to be bigger and bigger and bigger.
So it's an extreme distortion, and you see it a lot in social media, particularly with young guys who are solely focused on getting as big as they can, equating that with masculinity. So it becomes unfortunate, but you'll have 10% of them who are really into an extreme way of looking and the way they perceive themselves. You're never big enough. You're never big enough.
Right.
Well, I have one more question for you guys. What advice would you, and I know Taylor is young, but what advice, if you could go back in time, would you give your younger self about either body image and confidence or just fitness in general?
Well, a couple things that come to mind. So number one, around confidence, young women, it's a challenge from a body image perspective, feeling good enough, feeling, whether it's slim enough or, fitting into, again, that ideal. It's just give yourself some grace and, learn to love who you are.
Right.
And again, if you do feel that there's something that you don't like about yourself, implement some realistic lifestyle changes. So one of the things I talked about, being younger, doing like unrealistic, diets or exercise regimens, it's really about a lifestyle and a routine just for lifelong health. So I would tell my younger self, stop doing the craziness and just, whether it's a walk or something, doing something every day, being intentional about, eating well. Those are some of the things that I would tell my younger self. Yeah.
And do you think she would listen? Okay.
I know.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Wait, it's,
I hope, I would hope. I have a daughter, again, at 21, and I'm very conscious of the things I say to her about body image and about weight and about eating, because I want her to love herself and not compare herself to,
that is the
to anyone
challenge.
else. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you figure that out, you got to tell everybody.
I hope she listens, but yeah. It's
yeah.
a constant, it's constant work.
Yeah, I'm going to chime in on that, but I want to ask Taylor first.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely struggled with some things when I was 15, 16, 17, similar to what you were talking about with eating disorder, body image. And so if I were to talk to her, I would say, don't focus so much on how you look, focus on how you feel and what your body can do.
Ooh, I like
focus
that.
on being strong because, if you don't have the strength, if you don't have the energy to do what you need to do, then what is the point? So yes, definitely just tell myself, focus on how you feel and focus on what your body can do, because your body can do so many amazing things when
We don't
you're
give ourselves
treating it
credit.
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that in a nutshell is you could say that about most women.
Right.
Is we don't give ourselves credit.
Exactly.
We are so quick to take it away and dismiss. And I'm just thinking back, even as we have done some of these episodes, and just in general conversations, observing women and hearing a woman receive a compliment and what is her reaction. And usually it is her way of dismissing it.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I hear it all the time. And now I've started hearing it in myself. And if I were to answer that question that I asked you guys about what advice would you give your younger self, I don't know if I would have heard any advice even then. I'm sure people tried their best to get me to see myself differently. But I know that now in my 40s, knowing that I still battle with liking myself and the way I look, I did something really radical. I was offered a contract to be represented with Click Models, which at first I was just like, okay, that's ridiculous. Do you know how old I am? But every time I go to do a shoot, it brings up all those demons. And so every time I do a shoot, I think, I want to quit. I don't want to do this. I don't want to think about I don't want to worry about what my face looks like. I don't want to worry about how my body, because that's just not healthy. And then I say, no, this is your chance to redo. This is your chance to learn how to love yourself and how to like what you see and be confident and proud. And I have not achieved it yet, but I do think
It's a journey.
it is a journey.
Yeah.
And recognizing that those things are unhealthy and recognizing those behaviors, dismissing compliments, and the negative talk that we do for ourselves, recognizing it is step one.
Yes, like just being aware of that and being aware that it's not the best for you. I think that is so important. And acting on it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like you
Which
said,
takes time.
Exactly. Like you said, like even though, sometimes you don't want to go to those shoots, you still go to like push yourself. And,
Yep.
Yeah.
I get
Which is
stressed out, I
awesome.
get cranky, and because I don't like myself, but I think, no, like,
Yeah.
would they have signed you if they saw what
Absolutely.
you're seeing right now?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
hopefully that's helpful for women to
Yeah.
tackle those demons.
Yes, absolutely.
So, Greg, so any particular movements you want to introduce us today that we haven't talked about that we can start implementing? I do love the isometrics, especially for women who are not liking their body, because we can go directly to the source. But is there anything else in general? Maybe just like a general fidget to burn calories?
Well, I do like, I consider a number of people who commute and things you can do while being mindful of traffic, but you can do things in a subtle way. And I do like adduction exercises off of the steering wheel. So what I can do is if I'm at, let's say, I have a 9 to 3, let's say if I have a 9 to 3. Then what I can do, if I'm driving that way, I can adduct or squeeze the steering wheel, all right? And conversely, I can abduct or pull the steering wheel. I can pull
Pilates
it apart.
ring.
And so it's something really good to do involving little chest, shoulders, and you can do it that way, and deltoids. And then we can also press down on the steering wheel, okay? Doing an isometric contraction on that. And conversely, we can do the agonist, and we can actually come up on the
Find our
steering wheel.
biceps?
Yes, exactly. So there's some simple things you can do.
Never think of that. Yeah, the steering.
We're going to be working out on our car.
On the way home.
And then like there's something I like to do called stomp the floor, was basically a lot of times if I'm driving for a protracted period, I'll take that left leg and push it into the floorboard and extend it. Not only is there an extension, but I can go ahead and do an isometric off of the floorboard itself, and it helps keep blood flowing as well.
Okay. Wow. So driving home today, we're going to be active.
We'll be,
Working out.
yeah.
Well, this is awesome, ladies. I know it's a tough topic, and it's hard even for me to air all of that out and let people know what's going on inside your head, but I do think it's helpful, and I really appreciate your willingness. Hopefully it will help people.
Yeah. Thanks for having us. Yeah, very important topic.
For sure.
Thank you, Greg.
You're welcome.
Thank
My movement ninja.
Yes.
Neat ninja.
Neat.
Oh.